Hey everybody, how's it going? So, I've been doing a lot of thinking lately about Mario Kart and where exactly Nintendo goes with the series after 8. We have one more course pack left in the Booster Course Pass, and then after that, unless Nintendo announces some other brand new wave of courses, that's it for Mario Kart 8's DLC. This game that we have essentially been playing since 2014 will finally be complete. So, now what? With a game like this having such a long life cycle and being so successful for both the Switch and Nintendo as a whole, it'll be interesting to see how they move on from this game. Some people have suggested the idea of Nintendo just bringing Mario Kart 8 over to the next console and just adding more content. I've also seen the idea that if the next Switch is in fact backwards compatible, then Nintendo could just keep building upon the Mario Kart game that they already have. But the biggest problem that I have with this is, do we really want to keep playing the same Mario Kart game for another console generation? Look, I get it. New characters and courses would still add a ton to the game, but at the end of the day, that game is still the same Mario Kart at its core. I would much rather have Nintendo make a brand new Mario Kart to truly let the series evolve, and I got some ideas on what the next Mario Kart could potentially be. I actually made a video about this a while back where I suggested that the next move for the series should be a full-blown Nintendo Kart, and while I do still think that would be pretty cool to have like this big karting crossover in the same vein as Smash, the more I think about it, I don't think that's the answer. A few guest characters here and there are fine, but Mario Kart is a Mario spin-off first and foremost. You start adding in more crossover characters and then it just becomes Nintendo Kart, and at that point, I feel like you almost want to make a dedicated game for that. Because with the Mario universe, we've still barely scratched the surface of what's possible. So the first major thing that I want in a new Mario Kart is a roster that delves into everything Mario. I'd love to see more Mario villains like the Tanga and Wart, characters from the various Mario RPGs, more members of the Donkey Kong crew, even characters from Wario's side of things. And this extends to the courses too. There are so many locations throughout Mario's history that have yet to be explored in a Mario Kart game. There is just so much that they could still do within the Mario universe on its own, and I really hope that we get to see more of that before we even start talking about getting into bigger crossover territory. Besides the roster, there's another big existing feature that I want to see get expanded upon in a new game: vehicle customization. 8 already has a bunch of customization options, but I would love to see it taken even further. More parts, both functional and cosmetic, would add a ton of personalization to the game. This idea was largely inspired by the Mario movie. There were so many over-the-top and wild karts unlike anything that we've seen in actual Mario Kart entries, and having that sort of variety and zaniness in game would add a ton of flair to the game's overall identity, in my opinion. I wouldn't go as far as to say assembling a car from scratch like Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts, but having a lot more variety in terms of kart bodies and attachments would go a long way. Alright, on to the part that I am most excited to get into: what the gimmick is going to be for the next Mario Kart. What's going to be this next Mario Kart's big feature? That big bold letter sales pitch on the back of the box that just screams why you need to buy this game. I really want it to be something bold and exciting this time around. Mario Kart 8's anti-gravity mechanic was such a fun looking concept when it was first shown off, but as far as mechanics go, it really didn't seem to add too much to the overall gameplay experience. In fact, I think the feature was severely underutilized, so whatever the next game's big gimmick is, I think it needs to be something that truly defines that entry. Let's start things off with an idea that isn't really a brand new gimmick per se, but rather an amalgamation of everything that came before. I'm talking about the next Mario Kart pulling a Smash Ultimate. They could call it something like Mario Kart Marathon or something like that. So yeah, basically taking the whole idea from Smash Ultimate and bringing all the characters from Mario Kart's history back for this game. Every single character. I'm even talking about the ones from Tour and the arcade versions of Mario Kart. Throw Mamichi from Tamagotchi in this thing. Throw Pac-Man in. Every single character. And every single course coming back would be amazing as well. But the biggest thing I want is for every single gimmick to come back. All the 8 courses would maintain their zero gravity. All the types of battle modes, including their stages, would come back. And yes, even Double Dash. I think that it would be a situation where Double Dash would just be a mode that you could select before a race, not integral to the overall gameplay experience, but just having the feature available across the board would be so much fun. This would also add the opportunity to add more newcomers from the Mario universe to the game, considering that there would be no cuts with this game's roster. I still really think that expanding beyond the almost sterile Mario mainstays would be great for the series. And then with all the old tracks coming back, I think this would also be a great excuse to finally add a course creator. It wouldn't even need to be something super advanced, just a basic course creation tool and the ability to share those courses with friends. That would be super awesome. I just really love this idea of a massive celebration of Mario Kart's rich history while also trying to push the series forward with some new additions. And if I'm giving my honest opinion about this concept doesn't feel like something that's too out of the realm of possibilities. With the success of Smash Ultimate and the whole idea of bringing all these characters back, celebrating the series history and how successful that was for Smash, I could see Nintendo being like, hey, why don't we take that same concept and apply it to Mario Kart? Okay, now it's time to get into some brand new gimmick ideas. I'm going to preface this by saying that these ideas get a little bit more experimental compared to standard Mario Kart, but my line of thinking is pretty much the fact that, assuming the next Switch will be backwards compatible, 8 will still be on this new system, which means that players will still have a more standard Mario Kart that they can play. I just think this creates an opportunity for Nintendo to try and take the series into some new directions. So my first idea is something else that was largely inspired by the Mario Kart sequence in the Mario movie. I would love to see more combat integrated into Mario Kart. And I'm not just talking about tossing shells at racers or throwing banana peels on the track. No, I want to see a little bit more edge in this combat, a little bit more aggression, almost taking the rough aesthetic of Mario Strikers and applying it to Mario Kart. I think traditional items would still play a part in this, but I would love to see the system get overhauled. If I throw certain items at racers, give the carts battle damage, have a point system, a score that you keep track of. Have a mechanic where racers would need to repair their car during the race to avoid their cart getting destroyed and having to wait a little bit to get back on the track. This could also tie into cart customization that I talked about earlier. Imagine equipping better armor to your carts or making it weaponized so you deal damage to racers when ramming into them. I'm sort of imagining this being essentially a hybrid of traditional Mario Kart racing and battle mode. I just think it would be fun for once to have a Mario Kart that really emphasizes a bit more aggressive competition. Alright, so my second idea strays even further from the standard Mario Kart formula. I would love to see Nintendo try a more open world style of the game. Something on the lines of Forza Horizon or Lego 2K Drive. I still think traditional racetracks would be a thing in this, but everything would be connected by what would essentially just be a massive hub world. Sort of like how Diddy Kong Racing structured things as well. I just think that a big open world could allow for some fun experimentation. You could have these large open environments where you could practice driving with friends online. There could be a huge emphasis on exploration and driving through different types of environments with all sorts of unique hazards. This could also be an excuse to add a mission mode back into Mario Kart. Have a bunch of different objectives like racing opponents to specific points on the map without being tied down to a standard Mario Kart track. Defeat a bunch of enemies within a time limit, or even fight against bosses in different areas on the map. Mission mode from Mario Kart DS was one of my favorite features that the series has ever had, and it added so much content for single player that I would love to see it come back for a brand new entry, but with that open world twist. Now I know that turning an arcade racer like Mario Kart into an open world game might not be something that most would want from the series, but like I said before, if Mario Kart 8 is still on this next Nintendo system, it gives Nintendo the opportunity to try new things with the series, for better or worse. And I'm all for a little bit of experimentation from one of Nintendo's biggest sellers. With the series going on for as long as it has, I feel like the more experimental stuff was something that was bound to happen at some point. Nintendo have always been the masters of innovating with new wacky stuff that players would have never thought of before. So I'm willing to bet that whatever the next Mario Kart really turns out to be, it's going to end up being something that no one saw coming. And I cannot wait to see what they do next. But for now, I think that's enough out of me. So if you guys like this video, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Later.